Well, I'm Toby.
And I'm Savannah.
And this is our official Star Wars ranking from a certain point of view. So clearly our opinions on what order we like them in. We won't include Solo or Rogue One just because they aren't episodic movies. We're only doing the 9 episodes.
So we also wouldn't include the shows in this.
Yeah, we're not including the shows.
Our lists are not going to be exactly the same. For the first half, they're pretty much the same. But we're actually going to have very different lists overall.
And my top 3 will change throughout every day. Just depends on what I feel. But it's always one of these. The top 3 are always the top 3. So, yeah. All right. So to start it off with, we both picked. I'm pretty sure you guys saw this coming if you watched our channel before. The Last Jedi. We did put at the end of our list.
Yeah, we're going from bottom to top.
Bottom to top. So worst to best. So clearly, I put Last Jedi at number 9. Actually, after watching episode 9 as many times as I did, I get more upset with The Last Jedi and what it should have been, and I can kind of see the vision that Abrams would have had for this movie. I'm somebody who grew up with Luke Skywalker being everything. He was my hero, my idol. I didn't like how he was treated. I didn't like how the legacy itself was treated. And I very much felt like this was somebody making a movie that they wanted to make no matter what. He was going to do this no matter what happened in The Force Awakens or anything. This is just almost made as a standalone movie in the middle of a saga and its own trilogy even in the end.
I mean, first of all, they completely sidelined Leia, which was ridiculous. I mean, she's always been one of the most important characters. So the only reason I really liked it all that much growing up. I look at it from more of a writing standpoint. He didn't follow any basic archetypes. He didn't follow the basic idea of conflict. There's like multiple types of conflict. I could do a whole entire video on the types of conflict that he just ignored or pretended to create but then didn't resolve. I mean, he didn't follow so many basic writing structures, and it's quite frustrating to see somebody take all these character arcs and go, well, you know what, I don't like it, so I'm just going to go over here and completely ignore this arc and create a whole new, and that's just not good writing. It's not. We could do a whole video though at some point. We don't want to piss
off anybody that much. Again, everybody will have their own opinions. You'll have your own rankings. Share it in the comments. I'm always interested to find out where other people will put these movies. So coming in at number 8 for both of us, pretty sure this is what most people would have put it. The Phantom Menace. And again, it's not even to say that this movie is bad, but something has to go there, and overall, a lot of stuff in The Phantom Menace was awesome, and I enjoyed a lot of it. I have a lot of good memories with this movie, going with my grandparents and standing in line at midnight at our hometown theater. I was very excited. I was 9 years old. I was just so excited to see a new Star Wars. Darth Maul was cool. Qui-Gon Jinn was awesome. I don't hate Anakin as much as everybody does as a kid, and I don't hate Jar Jar that much because in the end, even though he was annoying, he served a purpose. So, you know, in the end, I thought it came out with a lot of cool characters, but out of all of them, I put it below just for, I don't know really why, I just did. I loved it though still, nonetheless.
This is one that could change over time for me, but for now I have more of a personal vendetta against it. I don't have good memories with this movie because it came out when I was 6, not when I was 9. And when you take a 6-year-old to a movie that talks so much about politics, it's not a good idea. Mm-hmm. And then I got lost in the theater, which is a whole nother story for another time, but basically I don't have any good memories of this movie.
Nice. So yeah, overall I think we both have enjoyed it in the end.
Yeah.
Alright, so number 7.
Again, the same for us.
Same for us, and funny enough, it is episode 7.
Yep. The
Force Awakens. This one doesn't have the cool movie poster on either side, so Phasma or Kylo, I'm just going to do Phasma. The Force Awakens, when it came out, we actually were together at this point. Over time, I have appreciated this movie more and more. Yes, I find it very much of the episode 4. It's very similar to episode 4. It has a lot of the same motifs and whatnot, but it did have its own thing in the same way. As much as I hated Han Solo dying, it felt right. It felt like it was handled well. And I felt like our original characters were handled well. And that the new characters, while not as super enticing as the original 3, still, I enjoyed them. I loved the fact that there was a Stormtrooper dessert. I thought that was cool. Over time, I've liked Kylo a lot more in this movie. I know the first time I saw it, I didn't, because I just didn't get that Darth Vader villainous feel. I expected him to be just straight up villainous right off the bat, but that's not how villains always work.
This one actually, I had a hard time deciding between this one and Phantom Menace. Not because I don't like it. I like, especially like you were saying, the new characters do have that intrigue, and you want to see where they go with them. Like I actually was really interested to see what they would do with Rey and what they would do with Finn, especially with him being a new type of,
Rey
a very
was
new type
awesome
of character.
in Force Awakens.
My biggest thing is I really hate Hollywood's thing about they just can't ever keep a couple together. It's just like, it's like Hollywood just can't picture a marriage working out ever, apparently. And I just hated the fact that Han and Leia were separated. I thought that was dumb and unnecessary.
Right,
I just thought that was a stupid trope to pull. Like, oh, well, things got tough, so he kind of just ran off.
It just paints him in a bad light, which is just annoying.
The way that Han was written wasn't really great, and I feel like I actually didn't mind his death at all, because I do think that somebody would give up like that for their kid. I mean, you know, I think that's believable, but I also feel like as a parent, it's your damn responsibility to be trying to track the kid down the whole time, not just suddenly being like, oh, well, there he is, I guess I'll go talk to him.
It was a good start for Disney, and could have been a better start, but it was still a decent start for Disney's first movie. So the last movie that we actually have in the same spot is Attack of the Clones. Now, I've heard over time that people actually put Attack of the Clones before or after before the Phantom Menace, because they're just like, I loved Attack of the Clones. I love the clones. I guess being a teenager when this movie came out really helped me appreciate that relationship between Anakin and Padme. I didn't find it awkward and conflicting because I was a teenager. I was awkward. I was very awkward as a teenager. It was not a good sight. So I connected more with that, and Anakin is by far one of my favorite characters. And I liked seeing this arc. And I love the clones so much. Seeing the clones was some of the coolest thing ever. And just all the menacing, everything that Palpatine had been putting into plan, just coming together perfectly for him. You know, Jar Jar coming in, giving him executive powers to create this clone army. I did enjoy this movie a lot. And I definitely enjoyed it the first time more than The Force Awakens and any of the other ones that I put on the list before this, so.
Yeah, I mean, I understand kind of the complaints about the dialogue. I get that it's not the most realistically written dialogue. I just feel like it's in the same vein as any other young adult series you would come across, though. I didn't find it all that unrealistic. I mean, older women can fall for younger guys, and yeah, he's a bit clingy and needy maybe, but some girls are into that, as weird as that is. I'm not, but some girls are. Well, and the ending was fantastic. I really enjoyed that battle at the end there, and then having, you know, all the layers of it, having it just be Padme and Obi-Wan and Anakin trying to escape, and then all the Jedi come in and help them, and then it's like, oh shit, even the Jedi are outnumbered, but then all the clones come in and help. Like, it was, I was exciting.
There's multiple layers to the battle.
Yeah.
Even in the final battle, especially between Yoda and Dooku. So yeah, overall it would go in the spot of number 6 for both of us. And that's the last time we have the same movie in the same spot.
It's true.
So, now this next one, this is hard. These two could easily be switched at any moment in time. And I ended up putting Return of the Jedi here. Now, don't get me wrong, Return of the Jedi is by far just such a fantastic movie. It was very well done, and even with all the little hidden things that came out later after, you know, we made the Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff, I enjoyed this movie. Seeing Luke bring his father back to the light side. It was a movie that brought hope to everybody and just a good, fun ending. It gave you hope that the galaxy was going to be a better place now. And I really liked that. I think everybody did a fantastic job. I especially love the opening to this movie. Probably one of my more favorite openings to a movie of the Star Wars. That whole Jabba's palace and everything was just fantastic. So,
I would put Rise of Skywalker lower just because I loved that original ending so much, and I'll get more into that when I say that for the next one. But Rise of Skywalker, why I have it above the ones before is just, you know, I'm not quite as passionate about the first 2 movies and the prequels, and I'm definitely not very passionate about the first couple movies of the sequels. So to me, this was like the best sequel and ending that we possibly could have gotten to that sequel trilogy. I know it wasn't perfect. I just think overall it wrapped it up better than I expected it to. I really did. I loved seeing Carrie Fisher come back, even though they had to use old footage. I still love seeing that, and I liked the whole concept, especially of their little dyad that they had. I really liked that. That was interesting to me that they, and he pointed it out that he was the grandson of Vader and she was the granddaughter of Palpatine. I mean, they had a very deep connection that way.
So yeah, we'll go on. Like I said, those two can easily be switched for me because now in this spot for me, I'm sitting at number 4, sorry, is The Rise of Skywalker. I really enjoyed this movie, mainly because one, I'm sorry again how much I didn't like The Last Jedi, so this movie fixed that and gave me more hope. I just liked seeing more, and something that's always intrigued me when reading the EU and Legends, whatever one you want to call it, is the unknown regions. I've always found that super interesting, so it was nice to finally go to the unknown regions, and Lando coming back, and having Carrie Fisher back in it again, like you said, even though it was old footage. Just seeing her again just was so exciting.
Seeing Chewie get his goddamn medal like
seeing Chewie get that goddamn medal was just fantastic. Again, like you said, it's not the best ending to a saga ever, but it's the best one we could have got with what had happened in our last trilogy. Again, like I said, they're both interchangeable for me. It was really hard to even put either one into a spot, but I felt like since neither one of us were putting, you know, any of the sequel trilogy higher, I really wanted to put one higher, and I felt that this one did earn it at least. It's not just me giving it.
I would always put Return of the Jedi higher just because, not that I really liked a lot of aspects of The Rise of Skywalker, but I always have loved that dynamic between Luke and Vader in those last scenes. That whole scene was just done so beautifully. It was just, it was such a good scene. And I, at the point in my life where I watched it, I was, you know, I was a teenager. I was the brooding teenager when I had seen it when I was younger, but I didn't remember it. I had to rewatch all of them when I was older. I kind of needed that happy ending because, you know, teenagers are just so dramatic all the time. I just needed it. I needed that. So this actually was my number one for a long time because I needed that happy ending. Like I needed to know that Han and Leia were going to get married and go off and have lots of babies and all that shit. And I needed to know that Luke was going to win, and I needed to know all that stuff. I didn't love the Ewoks. I watched it at a point in my life where I was too old to love the Ewoks. The ending was just so well done. I mean, I don't think I could ever put it lower than this.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. On to number 3, and for these, totally, any day, you could ask me tomorrow, and I might even say these 3 are different. And we'll just start it off at number 3. I put, The Empire Strikes Back. I really did enjoy The Empire Strikes Back. The storytelling alone in this movie is great. Finding out the parentage of Luke as Vader. Gets one of their best lines ever, I know, from Han and Leia. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The score and just the imagery of everything. Han and Leia's relationship slowly budding out through this whole movie. Hoth is probably one of my favorite battles in the original trilogy. I loved it. A snow planet, I thought that was cool. I'm from Minnesota, so me and my friends would go outside all the time. One would stand on a hill and be like, Toby, you will go to Subway and get a sandwich. You know, the Dagobah system or something. We just had a lot of fun with it. And it was a lot. This is my dad's favorite movie out of all of them, this is actually the first one I watched with my dad all those years ago when I was 4, and it just, I did enjoy it. I thought the bounty, we see Boba Fett, the bounty hunters were cool. Vader, I think at the time when I first saw it, I was young to see all the conflicting part, but just learning that he's his dad, it's like, what the fuck? So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy Empire Strikes Back, and like I said, this could be number 1 tomorrow in my mind. It's however I'm feeling, so I'll hand it off to Savannah now.
For my number 3, I picked A New Hope. This is the original. I love it. It's so iconic. It's hard to put it at number 3. Well, yeah, I'll talk about the other 2 and why the other 2 are higher on the list than this one, but obviously it's going to be at least at number 3 because it is the original. I think when I was younger, I didn't quite get it, and so it didn't really click with me for a long time. But when I rewatched it, I got older, I rewatched the whole trilogy again, just because I kept telling myself, okay, I need to actually watch these and comprehend them, and I didn't remember any of them, and I wasn't understanding the references people were getting, and I needed to rewatch them all again, and when I actually finally did rewatch this one, I was like, damn, I really should have rewatched these like 2 or 3 years ago. But then rewatching this again, it was just, it got me obviously hooked enough to watch the rest of the original trilogy and finally get into Star Wars and finally like look into the lore and look into things. And
so for number 2, I ended up putting Revenge of the Sith there. When this movie came out back in 2005, I was right in the target audience for this. I loved it. Being that teenager at that time, I was kind of always in that darky, broody. So this movie, being as dark as it was phenomenal. I loved the duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin. It was something that was so anticipated, and I just couldn't wait to get to that part. But everything in between was awesome. I mean, it's one of the most exciting and just epic entrances into the Star Wars movies is boom, right into this. You know, you see the two Jedi starfighters flying, they're calm, then all of a sudden, boom, you're just thrust into some crazy space battle that's been going on for at least, you know, like at least 2 hours. Using Anakin's anger when Anakin didn't even realize he was being, you know, manipulated into using his anger. I really just loved all of that. The slow manipulation of Palpatine. If you watched them in numerical order, you know, 1, 2, 3, for the first time, you would end with this movie being like, well, shit, the galaxy's in the worst turmoil ever. This is the worst. This is not a happy ending, even though, you know, Leia and Luke are going off to their respective places. And that was different, you know, in most movies. The bad guys don't win like that. And the bad guys won in this movie, no matter what you say. Let's Savannah see what she did for her number 2.
I put Empire Strikes Back for my number 2. I actually had a hard time deciding between this and A New Hope because A New Hope is such a damn good movie. But I think what puts this a little bit higher for me, again, is that, like you were saying, that the way that they developed Han and Leia's relationship, they did a really good job with it. And I actually didn't know much about the I Love You, I Know, because again, I was rewatching it as I got a little older. I mean, it made me that intrigued. I needed to know, like you said, it doesn't end on the most hopeful note. It's not quite as dim an ending as that. They didn't totally lose, but Luke got his ass kicked, and Han was frozen in carbonite, and I was like, what the heck?
Right.
I need to know what's gonna happen. Like, it was just such a crazy ending to me. I obviously knew that Vader was Luke's father, but other than that, I didn't really actually know a ton of the spoilers.
So, our number 1 picks, clearly if you guys have been paying attention and following along, you already know what they're going to be. Mine is clearly A New Hope. I mean, this is the movie that started off everything for me. It was March 4th, 1994. It was snowing. It was just a bad day outside. I couldn't go outside and play, so I had to do something. I went to the living room and was like, I'll just watch a movie. And I watched this movie, and I remember it ending. I rewound it, I watched it again, it ended again, and I rewound it, and I watched it again. This movie set off everything for me. It completely captured who I was. I lived on the outskirts of a town. I looked at sunsets all the time. Luke was a farm boy. I worked on my uncle's farm. I didn't live there, but I worked on there when he needed help. I connected with Luke instantaneously. I felt him, you know. It captivated my 4-year-old little heart, and I never let go of it. I have never ever stopped loving Star Wars ever since that. You know, it showed that even though this isn't from this movie saga, that you can really change your stars. You can be a nobody on a desert backward planet and end up saving the galaxy and being more important than you ever know. And it just gave me that hope that I could do something beyond my wildest dreams. I didn't have to be sitting back home sniping womp rats out of my T-16 out of Beggar's Canyon. I could go off and join an academy or go fight in the Star Wars, you know? Everything about this movie I love. The first second I see Darth Vader walking on that screen, I was like, oh my god, that is a bad guy. And learning about the Jedi, like with Luke learning about the Jedi, I mean, this is what gave us everything. This movie was everything. I mean, it's my life. This movie totally shaped who I am to this day. Luke Skywalker and all of them. Again, that's because I love this movie so much is the reason why I think I hated The Last Jedi so much. Because Luke was my everything. He was the idol. He was somebody, like I said, who I knew that I could go on and do more in my life and be something that I never thought I could be. This movie was everything for me, and if I could, that would be one moment that I would want to relive over and over and over again. A New Hope was everything for me, and it always has been. It's the one that I think truly that I get the most excited about on May 4th. I can't wait to get to A New Hope as much as I love Revenge of the Sith and just all of them in general. This is the one that I get excited every time I get to watch it, and it's the one I've seen the most out of all of them because it's the one I saw the first. So,
my number 1 that a lot of people are going to argue with is Revenge of the Sith. This was my number 1. Again, a similar reason though was because of the point in my life when I watched it. That's horrible, I know, but I did not actually watch Revenge of the Sith until, how old is she now? So it's like 3 years ago. So I didn't watch this until 3 years ago, and at the point where I watched it, I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant. And I think that actually really made me connect with this a lot, because I connected with that stress of the idea of what becoming a parent can do to stress the hell out of you. It just, I mean, it was really, I think, easy for me to connect with. Not that I was going crazy or anything, not that he was going crazy or anything, and to make him look like some kind of bad person. That's not what was going on. But it did. I mean, the pressure that you feel, the idea of what, like, the fear of losing family can do to you. I mean, it was very, very easy to connect to at that point in my life because I was pregnant. So I think I connected with it on a very, very personal level, just because of what I was going through. And again, being pregnant again, I've watched it like 3 more times, because you connect with it. I mean, at least I did, like crazy. And just that the battle, even not being pregnant, you know, the battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin is just, it's amazingly choreographed, and just the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan too, that really got me too, because I remember sitting there thinking the first time I watched it, like, Jesus, I felt so bad for Obi-Wan, because he literally left him saying, you know, may the Force be with you, and like they left on just such a high note of, like, he was Goodbye, so proud of him, and you know, they'd been through so much together. They really were like brothers, and it was so hard to see him lose that, to go from like that awesome goodbye and everything's totally fine, we're good, and then coming back and like, oh, he just killed a bunch of people.
A youngling.
It was very operatic. I think I like that aspect of it too. And the music.
Space opera about rebellion.
And the music, again, okay, we're gonna have to do a video for the music, because I could go on about the music in
John
this
Williams
too.
did a great job in that. Go ahead, tell us what you thought. You know, if you liked our ranking, or tell us who your ranking is down in the comments. You know, I'm always interested to find out what other people thought. And I love reading the comments, so even if they're negative and you don't like us, I don't really care. I like reading your comment anyway, so. But yeah, this has been our official Star Wars ranking. I hope you've watched all the movies, otherwise we gave stuff away, but I still think if you're watching this kind of list, you should have seen all the movies. And yeah, so until next time, may the films be with you.